Shalom, family. Good to see you all here. Hope you're doing well. Well, I just want to give you a reminder that there's still a few days left to grab your hair products for 40% off. So take advantage and grab it while you can. So, we're going to talk about an announcement that came from the US Treasury. They said America is insolvent. So if you don't know what that means, America is bankrupt. America is broke. So the debt far exceeds the amount of money that America has. And it's not going to get better with someone like Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a spender, all right? He does not know how to put the country in a surplus because he can't even do that for his own personal self. So if you go back and look at Donald Trump's track record, which is not good, his first administration, by the time Donald Trump left office, the 4 years that he was the sitting president, he spent $8 trillion by the time he left office. $8 trillion. Now, the second time around, he's only been in office for 1 year, just past 1 year. Donald Trump has spent $2.28 trillion in 1 year. And see, now it's going to go well beyond that in his second year because of this war, because of his ballroom. And Donald Trump, let's be real, Donald Trump and his administration, they're robbing the place blind. They are. When he leaves, see, he was butt sore when he lost, and he legitimately lost. I mean, he keeps saying it was rigged. It wasn't rigged. Donald Trump legitimately lost that race. And Donald Trump is doing all kinds of little things to justify getting all kinds of money. And see, when he left, see, if you're a one-term president, you don't get anything. If you are a two-term president, like somebody like Barack Obama, both him and Michelle left with $60 million apiece. Plus, he gets a library and, there's all kinds of perks if you can become a two-term president. But if you are a one-term president, you leave with nothing. And Donald Trump was all butt sore about that. So this time around, he's going to leave and rob the place blind. So America has astronomical debt and not bringing in enough revenue to cover the debt. So, on top of losing a war, y'all, America is broke. Mm, mm, mm. All right. And Donald Trump is also playing the stock market. There's a reason why he keeps talking about peace talk and stuff because it shoots all the stocks up in the green when he talks like that. I know what the hell he's doing. Now, every time he said, "Oh, we're talking, we're negotiating, we're in peace talks with Iran," um, the stocks go up. So he's literally playing the market. So if people hear him talk like that, they know to buy. I know what he's doing. I've been knew what he was doing. Donald Trump ain't fooling no damn body. See, but see, Iran keeps coming out saying we haven't spoken to Donald Trump. I don't think that Iran is catching on to what Donald Trump is doing, but Donald Trump is manipulating the market. every time he address the nation or say something in the media about, oh, we're working it out, we're working everything out. So so if you did not know, now you know, because if he does that, his rich buddies and Donald Trump makes a lot of money because it looks like he's trying to end the war. So everything goes in the green. Yeah, he's a little slickster. So, y'all, let's get to it. Let me share my screen. Please. But I thought these folks had high IQs, y'all. I thought they know it all. They done it all, and they're the master race, and they are just the embodiment of perfection. Well, I think you might want to rethink running around talking about you got a high IQ and you obviously can't manage money. The money has been stolen and mismanaged. That's what has happened. For the most part, stolen. And we know who's doing all the stealing right now. And we know we got a Congress that's going to just sit there and watch it happen and do absolutely nothing. So at the end of the day, the high IQ can't run a dog pound, y'all. They can't run a dog pound, and they're dumb with money. They're dumb with money, but they want you to believe all great things about them. All great things. all great things. But these people are dumber than a rock. And they couldn't manage anything without corrupting it. Everything they touch, they corrupt. If you got a people like that in charge, there is no fixing this, y'all. There's no fixing it. There's no fixing it. Donald Trump sure ain't gonna fix it. He's actually making it worse by spending what, 2 billion per day on the war. He's a contributor to the debt. All right, let's go on.
It means, right? It means that Trump took the world's greatest economy and bankrupted it. We don't make enough money to pay our bills now under Trump. Do you understand what that means? Are you able to understand the impact that's going to have on your life?
This is about as bad as it gets. Yeah. The Treasury has declared the U.S. is insolvent. Yeah, we're just spending money that we don't have in record type numbers. I mean, we're talking now each year trillions of dollars, multiple trillions of dollars that we don't have. And this guy right here is speeding it up faster and faster. So you're going to notice interest rates are going to climb. Yes, if you haven't noticed over the last few months, interest rates have been going up, especially on mortgages. Good luck. Good luck buying a house this year. Yeah, with interest rates continuing to climb, and they're only going to get worse because who's going to keep loaning us money when we are doing nothing about solving the problem? Nothing. We simply don't take in enough money and we spend way too much and we keep doing it. And this guy right here, like him or not, really doesn't matter. This man right here is bankrupting the country. And the damage from this guy right here is going to be felt for years and years to come. And just know this, many of us warned you. And you went, don't want. You're about to experience just how bad things can get. Because this man right here wasn't kept under control. And Republicans let a dummy do whatever he wanted. And now we're about to pay for it.
The U.S. Treasury Department just declared the United States government insolvent. And the media missed it. No, the media did not miss it. The media intentionally did not talk about it. Do you guys know what this fucking means? Let's go ahead and look at the meaning of insolvent, shall we? Insolvent describes a person or organization unable to pay their debts as they fall due or when their total liabilities exceed their total assets. Do you understand what that means? I'll break it down further for you. What that means is that a man who has bankrupted everything he has ever touched in his life, a man who bankrupted a real estate empire, a man who bankrupted a fucking casino, a man who bankrupted every fucking thing he has touched in his life, has now bankrupted the United States government. That means for the first time in its 250-year history, as far as I know, the United States government has more liabilities than it has assets. That means for the first time in American history, the United States government is literally and officially fucking broke, to the point that the Treasury has now called that, insolvent. It cannot pay its debts. United States government right now, if it were a person or a corporation, it would file for bankruptcy. A man that would probably be described as quite possibly the most unqualified candidate to ever run. Someone less fucking qualified than Al Sharpton ran for president. But you see, he promised the majority of the voting base in America that if they voted for him, he would make them superior again. He will give them an all-white country. He will bring them back to the era of slavery, where they had all the power and minorities or black people had nothing. And they believed him, despite everyone coming out and saying, look at the pudding. The proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the pudding. They said, yeah, we ain't seen no pudding. Well, for the first time in its 250-year history, the United States government has more liabilities than it has assets. If it were a corporation, it would file for bankruptcy. That's what we now have in us. And that's who we have, Trump.
There's plenty of things to be angry about these days, but one that slipped under the radar we need to talk about is the financial condition of this country, which was recently revealed in a series of articles showing that we have $47 trillion in liabilities and only $6 trillion in assets. That's right. And if you add in Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, you're talking about $136 trillion in liabilities and like $6 trillion in assets. Think about that for a moment, okay? This is crazy. And you know how we got here? Politicians in Washington kicking the can down the road, knowing that people like my age and younger are going to have to pay for this. It's coming for us. And then you have Donald Trump, who just gets put into office by half this country or half the voters that failed the character test, let's be honest. And we're going to have like a $56 trillion national debt by the time this guy leaves office. Soon we will be paying more on our interest on our national debt than we do for the military. We pay our military $1.5 trillion a year. So what does that tell you? It is totally insane, and we need to have a true uprising and revolution in this country about, what they have done to us, how we've been screwed. The older generations have screwed the younger generations. How Donald Trump, like right now, he's just stealing from the Treasury. He's going to get a $10 billion settlement for the disclosure of his tax records when the statutory maximum damages on that claim is supposed to be $1,000. So we're being looted. We got screwed. And these people need to be thrown out of office and put the younger people in, okay? The ones who actually have skin in the game and need to fix it. This is going to be more focused on my videos coming up in my content. It can't happen. We got to.
Y'all, again, the people that look like him cannot run this nation. They have been given hundreds of years to do this thing right, and they have failed at every single point. The only time they were succeeding is during slavery, when we were, our forefathers were doing all of the work, and they were taking and collecting all of the money. That was the only time they were successful. When they got to get in the game and start working and start running things while doing labor, you see how they fall as fast as a rock. It just goes to show you, we really truly are the ones that make this country work. When they have to manage the money and be the overseers, They're so corrupt. They sit there steal. Y'all, this is stealing. We got here because you're voting in people. Now, Donald Trump is a 34 convicted felon. And you really thought he was going to be good with the money? This man ain't doing nothing but thinking of all kinds of ways to get paid by this government. Then you got people like Elon that don't have no damn experience in anything, and they're giving him trillions of dollars for a failed Tesla company. But although he's failing, he can continue to rake in the $1 billion. He got a contract for $1 trillion. That is unheard of. This is why it's going broke. Look, Trump and his people are literally looting the place. They're looting this place. And no, the only way to fix this, you got to completely get the people in power out of power. It's no justifiable reason for them to remain in power at this point. It's no justifiable reason for them to be the ones running the show. We stole the country, so we should stay in power, ain't cutting it. The bottom line is you can't run it. You can't run this country. It is very obvious. Trying to swap out one for another it's no good. The whole thing must go. That's the only way you will get rid of the corruption. These folks had more bites at the apple than they really truly deserved. They are not the ones to do this thing, y'all. It's very obvious. Now, we know their rise to the top was only temporary. It was never meant to last forever. You got to get them out of power. I now see why the Most High got to get them out. Because if you don't, it will be absolutely nothing left if you gave them even another 100 years. It would be nothing left, y'all. It would literally be nothing left. All right, let's get back to it.
Gotta fix it, and this is a national emergency. Thanks for watching, guys.
Y'all don't find it strange that while all eyes are on Iran, the U.S. has been declared insolvent, which basically means bankrupt without filing the paperwork? Yeah, the U.S. Treasury announced today that the United States of America is insolvent. They have about $136 trillion in debt and about $6 trillion in assets. A large part of this deficit, like $88 trillion of it, is for things like Medicare, SNAP benefits, Social Security. Baby, they done ran off with the money. Just for reference, 1 trillion is 1,000 billion. So we are $136,000 billion in debt. And nobody is talking about this. Nobody. Y'all don't find this strange?
The U.S. government is insolvent. And this will be my third time recording this video because for some reason I get pissed off and start swearing, and I'm not supposed to do that online. But if we have a conversation in real life, I'll tell you how I really think. Anywho, let me tell you what is happening. According to 47's Department of Treasury, the people who take in payments for taxes, unless you're like a multi-billion-dollar corporation, then they don't take any money from you because you're not really paying taxes because Republicans can't govern. I did a video last night and said, you got to know what you know. And I know what I know. And I stand on the fact that Republicans cannot govern, at least not for people. They are great for corporations. And they continue to prove that. As a matter of fact, they've done it so well, they've bankrupted the U.S. government. Isn't that crazy? I remember like in September, October 2024, we were talking about the fact that the U.S. was at, like $37 trillion in debt. Like that, the deficit was so high, and pretty soon we were going to be like not able to make our interest payments. We needed to make some changes, like for real. So obviously, here's the thing. I'm a business owner. So when you have issues with your balance sheet, if your income is not matching your expenses, you've got one of two options. You can increase the income or you can reduce the expenses. Well, the government is not supposed to operate for profit. So, you can increase your income or you can reduce your expenses. Republicans just want to reduce the expenses, which is not necessarily a bad thing, except for when you are cutting vital services for the citizens. Things like healthcare and food and housing and veteran benefits. Like, that's probably not a good idea. The other alternative would be to increase the income. Well, that means that billion-dollar corporations who haven't been paying taxes based on the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, they should actually be paying. But no, because the big, beautiful bill that was passed, the only significant piece of legislation that this administration has passed, that ensured that the tax cuts are permanent. So they're not going to pay anymore.
And haven't these folks been saying the rich pays the most taxes? They paid the biggest taxes. Haven't they been saying that the whole time? And come to find out, y'all, most of these rich people ain't paying nary dime in taxes. I can't tell you how many of, now the rich pay the most taxes. They pay the most tax. And these rich people ain't paying no damn taxes at all. They ain't paying nothing. And she's right. When it comes down to that big, beautiful bill, see, that's Donald Trump setting his billionaire buddies up for life. That's what he's doing. Let's go on.
More. And it doesn't matter that they have already reduced all of these things. Now, they just agreed to give a company out of France $1 billion not to finish a wind power plant, wind energy. No, we don't need that. We'll give you $1 billion not to finish it, so we can make some money. Oh, okay. Oh, and then also we know that we can't provide health care for our citizens. We can't take care of our veterans and the poor among us. Like, we can't give them $6 a day for food. And then if they do happen to get that $6, we're definitely going to dictate what they can and cannot eat, because that's our business as well. We want to do that. Oh, and outside of that, we're going to spend an exorbitant amount of time trying to ensure that women cannot vote. Oh, and we got to get rid of all those trans people too. This would actually be comical if it were not true, but it is. And it would also be laughable if no one had actually said this is what was going to happen, but we did. And also they did. In fact, they not only said it, they wrote it down and they put it online, and they called it Project 2025. The reason that ICE is in the airports right now, it's in Project 2025. They want to privatize it. Of course. Republicans have received 7 standalone bills to fund TSA agents, and they haven't passed a single one of them because they want the money for ICE without restrictions. It's Project 2025. Married women, midterms are coming up. If you are poor or an hourly worker, or you don't have a passport, if your legal name does not match your birth certificate, good luck. But that is also in Project 2025. They want to implement family voting. They also want to get rid of no-fault divorce. So if you don't like your husband, you might want to go and do something about that. You know what? Y'all stay. Y'all don't listen to me. Y'all don't believe anything I say anyway, so it's completely fine. Anyway, the U.S. is broke, and it was 1,000% predictable and preventable. But your racism, your hatred, your bigotry, your misogyny, yeah, 250 years. I guess it was a pretty good run, huh? Here's what's so dangerous about this. Not the fact that billion-dollar corporations aren't paying taxes. Not the fact that millionaires are literally creating ways to avoid paying taxes, because that's been happening. It's just permanent now, and that you are paying more likely in taxes than your employer is, at least percentage wise. Yeah, that's sad. What's crazy is not just the fact that Republicans don't think that like generating more revenue would have been beneficial. They just want to take things from y'all. They don't want your kids to get a quality education. Unless, of course, it's written by the Daughters of the Confederacy, and then they can learn all they want. In fact, they're going to bake it into their homeschool curriculum. They've got PragerU working on a whole new rollout of videos so that your kids can learn how the Civil War was about states' rights and how slaves didn't have it that bad. They really like the families that they worked for. The fact that I have made it this far and have not cussed yet, that is very good. Let me tell you what I told my friends. I sent them the article. This article is from Fortune. It's behind a paywall, actually. And I've subscribed, but don't y'all subscribe, because I had to set a reminder so I can remind myself to cancel it. Anywho, Yahoo Finance has a similar article. It doesn't go it's not as detailed as Fortune, but you can get the gist of it from Yahoo Finance. I told my friends what is even sadder outside of the fact that the U.S. is insolvent. What's even sadder is that this country is about to commit a genocide against her people. And y'all don't believe anything that people like me say, you know, Black people, women, liberals, people who believe in actual community and that policy should be written for people and not for corporations. You don't believe anything we say anyway, but I'm going to tell you what's going to happen, and then we will wait and see. I don't have to wait to see if I'm right, because I know I am. Because the U.S. government is now insolvent, and they also talk about Social Security and Medicaid, Republicans will use this as a reason to further cut essential services for people who are sick, who require government assistance. So that means people who have cancer or debilitating diseases who are receiving life-saving treatment, they will lose their lives. They will lose their lives first. Elderly people will be right there along with them, because according to Project 2025, they need to root out the undesirables. Their words, not mine. And poor people will be next, because according to the Heritage Foundation, they don't contribute.
How come we can't root out the ones that are robbing the country blind? How come we can't root out the ones that have mismanaged the money and bankrupted the country? Those are the ones that need to be rooted out. But it's funny how they always think it's somebody else, not them, when it should be you. The only ones that should be rooted out are the ones that look like Donald Trump's administration. It shouldn't be anyone else.
To our society anyway, so we can just get rid of them and essentially craft and create a world, a country that they want here in the United States of America, full of whites only people with misogynistic men who beat their wives and abuse children. That's what they want. And they wrote it down. They were so confident that it would be done. They put it in a book, put it online, and let everybody read it. And then for some reason, nobody believed it. Anyway, y'all have a good day.
Breaking news from March 23rd. Recently, the U.S. Treasury reported something that the media absolutely went full crickets mode on. No comment whatsoever, except for Fortune magazine, that the U.S. Treasury is telling us the U.S. government is insolvent. In their report, the U.S. Treasury indicated that we have about $6 trillion in assets and about $48 trillion in debt. Fortune magazine was also kind enough to let us know that the U.S. debt has gone up $2 trillion in the first year of Trump's return to office. This is the guy that ran on the idea that he was going to reduce the debt. Donald Trump has taken $10 billion for his peace board. He's spending $1 billion a day bombing Iran in a war that no one wants. But this has pretty much been the playbook for Republicans in the White House since Reagan. They cut taxes dramatically on the super rich. Then they deregulate the hell out of everything. They tell bankers and corporate leaders, just do whatever the fuck you want. And ultimately, we end up having a crash in the housing market or Wall Street, which destroys the global economy. The Treasury goes completely broke. And then we get to the part where we're told as working Americans that we have to tighten our belts, that we may have to give up some Social Security benefits, that we may have to give up health care entirely, that any kind of food support, any kind of federal money toward education, any kind of federal money toward our communities, FEMA, all kinds of programs are suddenly going to have to go away because we've been selfish. We've spent too much money. These are tough choices, but we're going to have to make them because nobody else is going to cut the federal debt except us, working people. We're the ones who are going to have to do it. Or we could just finally tax the rich. Imagine that. I don't know what the cap is right now on Social Security, $160,000 a year, beyond which you don't pay Social Security taxes. What if we just raise that number to, I don't know, $2 million a year? Immediately, Social Security is solvent for the rest of our foreseeable future. We can do the same thing with Medicaid and Medicare. Just pay your damn taxes, millionaires. Come on. Additionally, we could tax some billionaires. How about that shit? Why don't we just tax them at 25%, which is pretty much the rate all of us are paying? Suddenly, the U.S. Treasury is flush. So come on. Bernie's talking about it. Bernie's talking about a tax on the rich. How about we all start talking about that? Let's talk about it a lot.
Good morning. It's just about 9:40 out here on the West Coast, and it is March 24th, and I have a bit of bad news. Well, the country never cared about this anyways, but I'm gonna say this because I saw this headline and I read the article and holy fuck. So let me run through it. So this is on Fortune magazine. Fortune website and Yahoo Finance are the first two, and there's several others when I did another search on it. And as I'm looking at my notes, because I took notes on this one, here's the headline. The Treasury just declared the U.S. insolvent. The media missed it. So let me go through some of the numbers as I move this a little bit so I can look down at my notes a little bit less awkwardly. 6.06 trillion in assets, 47.78 trillion in liabilities. This is as of September 30, 2025. Does not include unfunded obligations of just over $2 trillion, or what they're calling the off-balance sheet. I'll leave you to go to the websites and, to Yahoo Finance and Fortune, do the search of what was it? Treasury Insolvency. That's the one. This is because of multiple reasons. Yes, spending is out of fucking control. But the other thing is that we are not taxing those that are able to pay their taxes. Plain and simple. I'm going to refer you back to the Clinton years. The Clinton years, they raised the top earners to 39%. And the administration fought with Congress over spending and this, that, and the other thing. But when he left, there was a budget surplus because not only did they cut spending, but they raised revenue. And then when W came in, he blew it up because he gave us tax cuts that we didn't fucking need. And I remember reading articles of rich people saying, what am I going to do with this extra money? Am I going to build another dance studio for my kid? So we know how to fix this. Nobody's willing to do it. Oh, and I'm going to do this in another video, but if Elon Musk is willing to pay TSA agents, maybe he should pay some extra fucking taxes. Just saying.
A Fortune magazine article came out that revealed that the Treasury Department essentially declared insolvency last year, showing that the U.S. has $6 trillion in assets, but $47 trillion in debt/obligations. But what is insolvency? The IRS declares insolvency, at least for an individual person, to be when their total liabilities exceed their assets. which in the case of the US government is 6 trillion in assets and 47 trillion in liabilities. Now, the article comes from Professor Steve Hank and former Comptroller General of the United States, David Walker, does say that the 47 trillion doesn't include, quote, the unfunded obligations of social insurance programs like Social Security and Medicare, but that there is over 88.4 trillion in 75-year off-balance sheet obligations, which they say, if added to the 47 trillion, equates to around $136 trillion, 5 times the GDP of America. Now, debt has been a major topic in politics for decades, ranging from the movement to, quote, balance the budget, tax cuts, tax raises, and cuts in the government's budget for specific programs and departments. But because of the war in Iran, along with other major events, both home and abroad, this admission has gone under the radar.
Well, y'all, financial nightmare. But America, I don't know how y'all gonna pay off this debt. And I think you not taxing the rich, not taxing the corporations, and letting that slide for decades and decades. And now you're gonna look at the people that are already struggling to clear out the debt. No, everybody should refuse. Everybody should refuse. I mean, if it's got to go under, then hey, let it fall. Let it fall. You can't run it. So why are you trying to hang on to it and tax the middle class? You can't do it. Just admit you failed. You squandered your time. And nobody should be giving you any more chances. How many goddamn chances do you want? If it's no changing of the guard, then we're ultimately going to end up in the same place we're in. We're going to end up in the same spot we're in right now. These people cannot run a country. They can't do it. And if you go back in their history over in Europe, they failed multiple times. Every time they would try to come with a country and try to run it, it always failed. It always failed. So just because you floated on some ship over here, what was that supposed to change about you? Nothing. If you could not succeed at running a nation in Europe, how would you succeed running this one? You can't. You can't do it. And you can't have a corrupt mind. You know, anytime you think slavery is good and yeah, and stealing and having corrupt courts so we don't have to be the ones in jail, and you know, and we'll be the one managing the money, and then we'll be stealing from the banks and stealing and coming up with ways not to pay money that we take. You know, how is a person with that kind of mentality going to run things? That's what you did with Donald Trump. Donald Trump, what, filed bankruptcy 5 times? And you thought this dude was the right one to run this country? Unfortunately, Donald Trump really is the face and representation of his people. For real. Yeah, I mean, look, y'all. If you keep the same people in charge, it's going to fail again. It's going to fail again. In all the years these folks have been running the country, it should be nothing but surplus year over year. It should be a surplus. And it's not. So y'all, we thank Antithesis, Oucha supporting. Thank you so much for your support for my channel. Kim for 2003. Thank you for the super sticker. Nikki, Set Apart. Thank you for the super sticker. Quantum Solace 5864. Thank you for the super chat. Yet they all were a part of this bull shenanigans when they were in hashtag the blessing. Now they have entered hashtag the cursings. Now they all have a moral. Well, yeah, but their moral is the equivalent of a garbage can, though. I'm serious. Their moral is not worth anything. In fact, at this point, their opinion is not worth anything either. It's not. You know, like I said, y'all, you sit back. I know what the hell I'm talking about. America is going to lose the respect of the world. They already do. I have not seen one world leader outside of Israel that like Donald Trump. They all can't stand Donald Trump. They can't stand him. There are no allies anymore. America had allies. America don't have any allies anymore. You see what's happening out there in the Middle East. Not one country is joining America. So there are no allies. There are none. There's none. We're just right now, we're a country with a bunch of criminals running it called the Trump administration. And what do you expect? Wait until he leaves office and they start tallying up the amounts of money that was spent or missing, and you just wait. It's probably going to be the worst in recorded history. More than likely. Quantum Solace, thank you for the super chat. Taxes, taxes, taxes. I can't squeeze out a fart without paying taxes. It seems as though I was only born into this world just to pay taxes. At this point, I really don't care anymore. This is not sustainable. It's over. Yes, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. And thank you for your support for my channel. Again, Quantum Solace. Thank you for the super chat. Damn surely, no, they cannot run a country. Hell, they cannot run Wall Street. Just pick up your Wall Street Journal. Yeah, I looked at that probably starting in my early 20s. And when I would see how much these companies would lose in a quarter, I knew instantly then these people don't know how to run nothing. What they do is they throw money at bad situations. And so it looks and gives the false illusion that they're doing well in their business. The corporations are doing well, but at the same time, y'all, it's falling apart. They got to keep throwing money at it to keep it going. It can't go any other way. They can't hold their own running companies without a ton of help. They always need a ton of financial help. Now you know why. Now you know why, because they run everything into the ground. That's why they always constantly need a tidal wave of money for their businesses. And so it looks like it's going well, but actually it isn't. These jackasses are always operating in the red. Yes, they are. But Quantum Solace, they still qualify for all kinds of financing and loans. See, they had to set it up that way because they knew a lot of their people would be failing in business out here. Yeah, they'll be in the red. They'll be in businesses and own businesses that make no money, y'all. Their businesses literally make no money, but they still qualify for grants, loans, you know, all kinds of things. So they just keep, their companies will be in the negative and they just keep applying for this stuff, applying for loans, applying for grants, and they just keep doing that year in and year out. But the company is literally trash. I've seen it. Yeah, and yep, every quarter they're always in billions in debt. Yes. Yes, they are. And the thing is, that is why they keep raking in they are the ones that get all the money. You and I can have the same type of credit and we still will get rejected. See, they need all that money to be giving to their people in these failing companies that they're running. Yep. Mhm. So I guess how y'all gonna spend this one? Because y'all love spinning things. So how y'all gonna spend this one in the news? Oh, I know, y'all. Oh, I know. It's the liberals. It's the liberal. It's the liberal. Do those liberals look just like you? That's my question. Do the liberals look just like your butt? So anyway, y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and conclude. I think I got my point across on this one. So, you know, y'all, we don't have to, we can still operate separate from this government. We really can. So just keep up the things that you do, keep your families together. And if you don't need things, then don't spend the money on that. Don't spend your money on things you don't need. Now, as far as helping this government out of this financial situation, I don't want to help you out of your financial situation. You don't help me out of mine. And why should we help a country? We could have the best credit and still can't get a business loan. Why should I help a country like that? Why should I help you? You know, I mean, we can't even financially, we can't even get the same things that the white community can get. So why should we continue to help you? I don't want to help you get out of debt. I'm just telling you. I don't want to help you. You don't help me get out of nothing. What am I helping you for? It never benefited us. This history, it has never benefited us to help anyone else. Every time we did, at the end of the day, we were the ones getting screwed over. So I'm tired of getting screwed over. I don't want to help. I don't want to help. Plain and simple. The people that got the country in this situation should be the only ones getting the country out of it. I was not a contributor at all. This country didn't give me anything that I can say, well, I kind of contributed because they cut me a check for X amount of dollars. That never happened. I don't want to help. So that's how I'm going to leave it. I don't want to help. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Thank you for being here. And I'll be back tomorrow on all new topics. Shalom, family.